A universal problem is buying books that you think you're gonna read, but instead, all they're doing is sitting in the corner and collecting dust. I want to say that this goes hand in hand with my very complicated relationship with reading. One second I hate it, but then the next I'm obsessed with it. Right now, we are currently going through a pretty healthy period. So I want to give you guys some tips on how we're mending our relationship and how you can save your relationship with reading as well. First, I want you to close your eyes and think about the last time you truly enjoyed reading. For a lot of people, that may have been like back in middle school. I was a fan of Percy Jackson, The Hunger Games, basically just all of the really popular book series back then. One thing that I noticed with all of these books and what they had in common was that they were all under the fiction fantasy genre. I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I went through this really intense phase where I was just reading nonfiction self-help books, autobiography, books that I felt like would really increase my brain size, my intellectual points, and I just was not touching any fiction books at all. Nonfiction books are just as interesting and you can enjoy them just as much as fiction books, but I think what ended up happening along the way was that it made me lose touch with what brought me into reading in the first place. It kind of dimmed that spark and passion that I had for reading. When I was focused solely on this one genre, it definitely made reading. So that's when I turned back to fictional fantasy and just fiction in general. And that's when I realized, like, damn, I was missing out on all these books. So I was out here reading all these when I could have just been reading both of them at the same time instead of like excluding myself from this whole genre. Some notable shout outs go to Six of Crows and Strange the Dreamer. I freaking love those books so much. If you're feeling lost on what to read, I would highly suggest going back to genres that made you feel passionate about reading as a kid. I felt like that's what really did it for me. Going back to that definitely fulfilled this like childhood wonder that I felt was missing for a really long time, and it definitely reignited my passion for reading again. People read for a lot of different reasons. It could be anything ranging from wanting to increase your vocabulary, wanting to be trendy, increasing your intellect. And speaking of increasing your intellect, I want to talk to you guys today about Wisent. Wisent is a site that allows for you to connect one-on-one with tutors to get help on more than 300 skills and subjects. If you need help from anything ranging from math to algebra, they have you covered with their vetted tutors. The sessions can be done remotely or in person. The choice is completely up to you. It's super easy to search for a tutor that will meet the right qualifications and rates. Sometimes tutoring can be expensive, so it's great that Wisent has tutors available for various price budgets. Only pay for the time that you need. No subscription or upfront cost is needed. Back when I was in high school, I had a tutor for math, and without them, I'm pretty sure I would have failed. So I am extremely grateful for them. I remember like bringing my worksheets to them and they would explain the concepts to me. And it was just a huge help during that time of my life because I was so completely lost on math, just in general, as a whole. If you guys are interested, feel free to click on the link down below. Back to what I was saying, when you get caught up in these things, it's hard for you to actually focus on what you're reading because you're so much more focused on the end goal. For me, I've noticed that when I'm reading a book that I don't fully enjoy, I tend to start thinking about things like, oh, how many more pages do I have left to read? Or how many pages have I read so far? Rather than actually enjoying the experience of reading the whole book. If you find yourself being more concerned with what you're getting out of the book or when you're gonna be done, then it's safe to say that you're just not enjoying the book as much as you think you are. So my tip for this is to definitely just drop kick the book to the side, because if you're not enjoying it, it's considered a waste of time for me personally. So it would be much better and way more beneficial for you to actually read a book that you enjoy, especially if you're on this whole journey of trying to recultivate your love and passion for reading again. It is so important that you actually enjoy what you're reading. For some time, reading just didn't give me the purpose that I was looking for. So it didn't fulfill me in the way that I wanted it to. So what I did was I started to become more intentional when I was reading. I think some people underestimate how easy it is to passively read. Like I'll start thinking about something and then I'll get distracted and so on and so forth. And before you know it, I have to go back and reread the entire page because I've realized that like I didn't absorb a single thing that I was reading. What I used to do was just tab pages that I felt like really stood out to me, but then what I didn't do was highlight or make notes about it. So I would never go back to those pages. And when I did, I would be like, why did I tab this page? I don't even remember. So now what I've been doing is, alongside using my tabs, I'll also highlight parts of the book that I think really stood out to me. I will annotate it. I will make these little comments on the side. And what I've also started doing recently is summarizing what's been happening in the book, especially if it's a thicker book, every 50 pages or so, to kind of get an idea of what has happened. That's what I've been doing recently with this book that I'm currently reading, Babel by R.F. Kong. I have been tabbing up the pages. I have been writing summaries every 50 pages, and it has been so much fun because first of all, I actually genuinely really enjoyed the book, and second of all, I'm doing it for myself, and I'm really just doing it to get a better understanding of the book because it's a very dense book and it's very nuanced. Some people like to keep reading journals or update their Goodreads, whatever it may be. Just find some sort of medium or way to be able to write notes and your thoughts on the book, because that way you're not just like passively reading, you're actively absorbing the information and then kind of rewriting, forcing your brain to like think a little bit more and to really digest the themes and the characters and everything that's going on in the book. For me, what I've been doing is, alongside my Goodreads, I'll also have a Notion page where I will kind of track down the books that I've been reading and then also write down some notes if I'm not keeping physical notes in the book. Also put down the rating, whatever else it may be. It's just a fun little way to keep a digital journal of the things that you've been reading and to basically just have a digital library. First one being Pachinko. I am obsessed with this book. There has recently been a new series based off of this book, so if you guys are interested, go check it out. I've only watched a couple episodes, so I can't vouch for it too much, but I can vouch indefinitely for this book because it is everything that makes a book amazing. I'm a huge fan of character-driven books rather than plot-driven books. So what that means is that the book focuses a lot more heavily on character development, character growth. This book basically details the kind of generational journey and trauma that this Korean immigrant family kind of goes through throughout the years. So it details how Koreans were really treated. So it kind of like delves into all of these like topics of just how Korean immigrants were treated in like Japan from the 1900s and all the events that kind of ensued from that. It's very nuanced, it's very complicated. All of the character relationships are very intertwined with each other, and all the feelings that they feel are so relatable. As someone that comes from like a family of refugees, I feel like there's a lot of shared experiences here. So for me, reading this was such a treat, and after I finished reading it, I felt like there was this huge empty void, and that's when you know a book has really impacted you, when you think that like, oh my god, I'm never gonna find another book that's gonna like affect me the way that this book did. So just a wonderful book all in all. Next is Strange the Dreamer. I was also so annoying after I finished this book because I could not stop talking about it. It is a fictional fantasy book. I'm really bad at just like summarizing stories and trying to make them sound interesting. So as usual, I will just put the link down below. So if you guys are interested, you can check them out. I just love this book. I love the prose, the way that the author writes is just so magical, beautiful, all of the words that you can think of. It was just such a fun book to read. I read that book during the period in which I was trying to write like a little fantasy book with my friend, so it was a huge source of inspiration for me. Okay, some other notable mentions would have to be An American Marriage, Lovely War, The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires, My Best Friend's Exorcism. All of those books are so fun to read, so heartfelt. There's a couple different genres mixed up in there. I do have a full podcast episode dedicated to talking about all my favorite books in depth, so if you want to take a listen, I will also link that down below. If you just want to check out the books, they will also be linked as well. Feel free to check all that out. Let me know if you guys have any suggestions of your own that you would like to share. I would also love to hear how you guys kind of fell back in love with reading again and your whole experience with that. Absolutely love reading your guys' comments. Till then, I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.